Yeah. I'm actually meeting with Marion and her crew.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
wonderful. So
Yeah.
we are live today. Is your marketing dead on arrival? If it is, we'll show you how to fix that. Stay tuned. Before we get going, I want to remind you to subscribe to this channel, comment, share, like the video, and yeah, all that great, wonderful YouTube stuff. And we are Nate and Simone. We talk all things marketing, and let's get going. We only have Nate for a short time today, so we don't want to belabor the point now, do we? All right. So, so Nate, want to start us off?
Sure, sure, sure. Well, welcome back, everybody. It's nice to see everyone out there, although I can't see you. You can see me. Um, yeah, so like she said, we're going to be talking about why most marketing fails and what to do instead. So, getting started here, you probably spent thousands of dollars on marketing, potentially. You got a new website, you got your social media, you got your ads, but you're still not seeing any kind of consistent growth. But here's the truth. It's not your tactics that's the problem. It's your strategy or the lack thereof that we're talking about here. Um, okay, so to get started here, the real problem with marketing today. Number one, everyone's chasing those tactics. Just like I said, rattle them off. SEO, ads, reels, chatbots, um, I don't know, social media posting in general, Facebook, you know, TikTok, whatever it is. These are all tactics. They're all ways for you to the things that you can do to kind of like reach out and try to make some customers appear out of nowhere, right?
Get
But the
some
problem
attention.
is, yeah,
Mhm.
and the problem is like there's so many agencies out there that are selling you execution of these tactics, but they're not really taking the time to understand your business model and what your real goals are for the business. And so they're
So
just
you're
telling
you
you,
end up with tactics that aren't connected to anything.
yeah, they're just telling you you need
They don't
SEO
work
because we're an SEO agency. That's what we do. Of
because
course,
that's
they're
what
going to
they
tell you
sell,
that,
right?
right?
Yeah.
Or you need social media because we're a social media agency. That's what we do.
Right.
Um, and that's not. I'm not throwing shade at these agencies necessarily, but because that's what they do, and I'm sure that
Mhm.
they do it well, right? But if they're not
And a lot of
connecting
their
it,
tactics are necessary. They just
yeah,
may not be right for your business.
yeah, and it lacks the big picture, right? How it fits into the overall scheme of everything. That, my friends, is what we're talking about when it comes to strategy. Um, and another problem, business owners are reacting. They're not leading. They're not planning ahead. They're not strategizing. That's the three big problems with marketing today. And most marketing fails because it's not connected to your strategy. And it's like pouring gas into a car that doesn't have an engine. What good is that going to do you? Um, all right. So let's break this down a little bit here. Some of the causes of that failure. Um, so we got three buckets, and I like to talk about it in terms of visibility, viability, and value in a business. The V3, as I call it, makes it easier to remember, right? And Simone and I were talking about this earlier. I'm a big fan of like first principles and breaking it down to like the smallest, most essential portion of the thing, right? And in my mind, anyway, if you have these three things in your business, you are well on your way to having a very successful business. So, what do I mean by this? Um, Visibility, where this, that is like where you are finding and attracting the exact type of clients you want and need for your business, and you're irresistible to them, right? Um, Unfortunately, um, many people attempt to achieve visibility without having a strategy. So that means that they're driving traffic through ads, but there's no clear positioning or messaging behind it, right? And so these people might be interested in some aspect of it, and maybe you just got people clicking on ads because that's that their hobby or something. Like who knows?
Or you may have said something interesting or clever
Yeah,
or funny,
yeah,
but does it mean that it actually matches what their problem is or what they're interested in, you
right.
know?
Or did that clever or funny thing actually convey what it is you actually do for them? You know.
Right.
Um, so what ends up happening then, obviously, is you're attracting the wrong audience. Okay. And you're not differentiating yourself from the crowd necessarily. Yeah, you might say something funny or witty or something that actually made them want to click, right? Okay, great, fantastic. But that's where it ends there, right? I was
Yeah.
running some ads for a while with it was a lead magnet for a book that I helped to co-write. And the problem is there is the ad that I had set up around that, what the language around it was not um, it did not do a great job of um, telling the people who I was actually trying to target, right? And so I had
Mm.
people that were clicking on the ad and trying to download the book, but were not ready or expecting to be called, you know. And so what my intention was is I was going to follow up with email sequence and a call and all this kind of stuff, and they weren't expecting that. They did not want that, and
Mm.
so I had to kind of tweak the language in the ad to kind of further segment who I was actually going after. And then I started adding information in there about like the revenue targets, right? Like I want to target companies that are between 1 million and 5 million in revenue, for example. And then that started slowing down the clicks, I have to say. But anyway,
So they have to self-disqualify at that point. Like,
yeah, yeah.
nope, that's not me.
Yep, which is great. That's great.
Yeah,
Fantastic.
just
That
great.
saves me the effort of having to go through that myself,
Absolutely.
right? And the time.
Absolutely.
Um, okay, now number two, we talked about, so we got visible, right? That's one V. And the problem there is you're trying to get visibility without having a strategy. Number two is viability. Okay. And by viable, I mean can your business survive on its own two legs? Can it stand and walk by itself without you having to guide it the whole way? Um, and here the problem is that you're trying to achieve viability without having any kind of system behind it. So your leads are coming in, right? You're running these ads, but then they fall into a black hole. And what happens to them, right? Uh,
Yeah. No
followed up.
follow-up, no process,
Yeah, yeah.
no segmentation. Yeah.
You have no CRM presumably, where you keep these leads and keep everything organized and keep on top of who you've contacted and not. And you as the founder are still like doing everything manually. You're trying to chase things. You're trying to keep you know fighting fires and keeping things on the right path. And so that is
It's
not a
unsustainable.
viable. That's not viable. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, And then the third is value. All right. Most of us who own businesses want this business that we're building to be valuable, either for ourselves or in the future if I want to sell it to somebody else. And they can see the value in it, right? And can give me more money for it, if I want to sell it. And so the problem here is that many business owners ignored this completely. I talked to a company that buys and sells businesses not too long ago, and this is one thing they said to me is that you know a lot of businesses that come to them to sell their business, they're like, I need this now. I want to sell this in 3 days. you know, but unfortunately, there's a whole lot of work that goes into selling a business. And by all accounts of people that I've talked to, it can take up to 3 years realistically to sell a business. So if that is something that you're looking for, and you really need to get things in order, um, because it's going to take some time to get there.
This thought
And
just came to me.
yeah,
Um, if your business is a business where you are working your fingers to the bone and it depends on you, it can't run on its own, and there's no systematic processes in place to convert your clients and keep your clients happy and keep them and have them referring other people. If it's a business that you don't even like, what makes you think that somebody else wants to buy that?
yeah.
You know,
And
you
if
have to create a business that you actually like first before you decide, okay, well, let me sell it to somebody else. Nobody else is gonna want it.
Yeah. And if you are the only thing holding it all together, it depends entirely on your personality and charisma. What good is that going to be to
Right.
anybody else?
It's not gonna be good to
Um, yeah.
I
So,
saw Dave Ramsey a couple of years ago, a few years ago, start to prepare his audience for him exiting. And he called them his multiple personalities, you know, like his daughter and several other people would co-host with him on the show. And then I started seeing where he wasn't on the show at all. It was other people on the show. So the audience is more prepared now, even though Dave Ramsey's name is on the banner. You may listen to the show and you're not asking questions to Dave Ramsey himself. You're hearing from other people. And so the audience is getting used to these other people so that when Dave Ramsey exits, everything continues to work smoothly.
yeah. And it can still be called Dave Ramsey, but he's not even there.
Right, right.
Um, okay. So, additionally, what we're talking about here with value and building value in your business is you don't have upsells in the business. You're not maximizing your customer lifetime value. Um, you don't have referrals coming in for your business. You don't have any kind of a strategy built around keeping customers and like I said, maximizing that lifetime value, right?
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. You don't want every
every
month to start at zero, right?
yes, exactly. Starting from scratch every month, not a great
Then
idea,
you
not a great
start
place to
over.
be in.
Yeah, I
Um,
see a lot of
and
coaches do that. Like, you know, you hustle, hustle, hustle. You get a bunch of clients. You do a group program, and then the program is over. Now you got to hustle, hustle, hustle again to get more clients, and everything just starts all over again.
uh,
You know, you want a more smooth flow of leads coming into your business, and
yeah,
having those upsells, having those referrals helps you do that.
yeah, and I don't know about you, but having to chase down new leads every month can get kind of exhausting. The
Exhausting.
idea of that, and not only that, but it's expensive because it costs a lot more to get new customers than it does to keep the ones you currently have. So
Right.
think about that one. Um, okay, so that's what we're talking about. The V3: visible, viable, and valuable. These are the crucial, critical components that you need in your business, and where it breaks down very frequently in businesses. Um, okay, so what can we do instead to grow strategically in our business so that we're not using tactical spaghetti, as we say? Um, okay, my personal belief and is that I don't know, maybe it's the fact that I'm actually in a former doctor's office right now, but I I like the idea that you know um, prescription without diagnosis is malpractice, right? And so if you are just throwing things out there saying you need this, you need this, you need this without actually knowing what's going on in the business and asking questions and digging deeper, then you're really not doing a service to either yourself or the business owner that you're working with. And so, the question is, would you trust a doctor who gives you pills before running any of the tests, right? And so, unfortunately, that's what a lot of agencies out there are doing. Um, Going back to what we were talking about earlier, right? With the SEO agencies, the website agencies, the ad agencies, etc. Like, so what we need to do is diagnose before prescribing. And step two, we're going to align the business first and then the marketing. Okay. Going back to what we said earlier, too, about messaging, differentiation, positioning. A lot of times those things, those fundamental first principle components to a business, um, have either been ignored or are sort of lacking, let's say. And maybe your business has got to a different point now where what got you to this point, as far as all that differentiation, positioning, messaging is concerned, is not going to help you grow because you've changed so much, and you really need to readjust and revisit that in order for that to take off to the next level. So
You've been
looking
growing
at
your business by sheer force of will,
exactly,
which
exactly,
I've seen a lot of people do. It's just hustle, a lot of hustle, and not much strategy behind it because just their customer base is not customers that they even want to be dealing with. They're trouble and they are difficult to work with.
yeah,
It's like, okay, let's go back to the beginning. Let's reevaluate. What do we really want? Who are who are our ideal customers? How should we be targeting it? What's the messaging supposed to be? You know,
yeah, yeah.
um,
We were talking. So Simone and I had a sales expert on our conversations here months ago, and he was telling a story about when he went in to consult with a business, how they the business was, they were doing okay and everything, but they had all of these customers that were sort of high maintenance, let's just say. And those customers that tend to be more high maintenance tend to be lower paying customers, smaller potatoes, let's say, in the grand scheme of things. And so what he advised them to do is basically raise prices. And what ended up happening is they lost 70% of their client base. But the ones that they retained were paying more, so they were actually making more money with fewer clients. So something to think about there. Um, okay, so aligning business, your messaging, your offers, your delivery, your retention, all of this has to be working together like a well-oiled machine. And then your marketing should amplify what's already working and not compensate for something that's broken in the system, right? You're not using marketing to kind of patch over everything else. That's don't look here, look here. That's not going to work for very long. Um,
band-aid strategy.
yeah, hope, as they say, is not a strategy. Um, okay, so step three, using again the V3 system, the framework, visible. You want to get seen by the right people. Viable. You want to build systems that convert and deliver. And value. You want to create long-term value through loyalty and leverage. So those are your three steps to it being more strategic about your business. All right. So just to, you know, throw in a little bit of, I guess, storytelling time. I was working with a client here recently on um, this, process V3, and he's a kitchen and bathroom modeler. And he our original conversation was around I need workers. And so I started, trying to kind of pursue that line and saying, hey, I know people that can help with that, fractional HR companies and that kind of thing that help out with hiring. Um, but as we kind of got into discussion and kept talking, it became clear that there was a whole lot more going on in his business that he needed to address. Um, and I don't know if it's necessarily, I don't think it's just him. I think that in general, home services businesses tend to be the situation where the person has built a business and they are actively in the business working on it, and they don't really have time or the bandwidth to kind of step back and be more strategic about things. That's just kind of the nature of the beast. And I could tell that he wanted to get there, right? And his goal was actually to sell the business in 3 years. And so started looking at it, had all these things that were missing in the business. And so this became part of the things that we were working on. And he started working with a company that was like a fractional HR company, started looking into hiring people, and he got that going. And so that allowed him to get a little more bandwidth to work on things, from a strategic point of view. And so we worked on looking at his offer, especially on his website, because the only thing he had on his website was click here and get 5% off. And he was running some ads through a lead agency company that was essential. The meeting or the essential message on those ads was click here and get a discount. Like his entire messaging was built around discount. That's not really an offer though. Uh,
Right.
because immediately you've anchored your entire thing around the price.
Hmm.
And when you do that, it's a race to the bottom. You know, you just don't want to get into that kind of a game.
Yeah.
So we
Some
looked
people
at,
call it the big D word. You never offer a discount.
yeah, right, especially not the
Yeah.
first thing, right? Like right out of the gate.
Mhm.
Granted, it can be useful. Okay, don't get me wrong.
It is useful in certain circumstances and in some business models, yeah, but like not in I wouldn't think in his business model because his business model is high ticket, right? So
Yeah,
you don't want
exactly.
you don't want you don't want a lot of what Myron Golden calls freeple and cheaple, people who just want everything for free or people who want everything on the cheap.
Right, which is
So
what he was getting. And so
yeah.
it was not the right clients. And so these were a lot of them were tire kickers, or they were not able to afford the larger, uh, costs of actual full kitchen remodels. And they were more looking for, projects that were lower price, or they wanted to pay less for these renovation projects. So, and they didn't really have a realistic idea of what it would cost, right? And a lot of that is just because, you know, um, it was built around the idea of, oh, they're offering discounts,
Of a
So
discount. Yeah.
he was getting the wrong people. And so we changed that around to being more of like, okay, so what is the offer? What are we actually offering here? Well, how can we differentiate your company from others, right? And we started looking into, well, are there any certain special certifications that you have? And it turns out he actually has several different certifications that kind of help him to stand out and solidify his position as being a pro, a trusted pro in the industry. And then we started to do validation calls around the offer that we had built and started getting actual people's feedback from this. And from that, we were able to start to, redesign the website and then the messaging around that. And I think that we really got to a much better place than it was. Did not mention anything about discounts. You know, we were specifically targeting people from the start who were interested in kitchens that started at $45,000, right? So that eliminates a lot right there off the bat.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Awesome.
yeah.
So,
Okay. Well, anyway, so I
hmm.
guess that's pretty much what we have. The key takeaway here is that most marketing fails because it's misaligned. Um, and the business owner is starting from tactics rather than having a strategic approach to things. So don't start with tactics, start with strategy. That's the main message there. Okay. Anything else?
Any questions anybody wants to ask right now? Um, Thank you for watching. We're broadcasting on YouTube, by the way, for those who came in later. So thank you for watching, and we will put some information in the description for your next steps, and we will see you again next time. Those of you in the room, you can ask questions once we get off of our YouTube recording, and we can have a conversation. Want to?